so far? Good. Okay, Ben's on for you.
And Gwen.
Okay. Oh, I better get my sheet out.
Hi, good to see you.
Hello.
Actually, it's really good to finally meet you.
Sharon.
Yes, well, I mean, I think we might have had like one video call before, but yes.
Good. Now screen sharing.
And he's recording it, so if anybody wants it, you know, I can send the link too.
Okay, great.
See
Thank
if
you.
Clicker works. Good.
I'll
Back it up. All right. Everything good?
So far.
Okay. Now, these buttons down here at the bottom, I'll have, if it freezes, I'll just hit one of them and that unfreezes. Let me go get your sheet and we'll get started.
Okay. Hi, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
He's our adopted Brody.
Who is your collaborative partner?
Gwen Sellers.
And his name is,
Got Questions Ministry.
all right, well, it's a couple minutes early, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the final defense for Joanne Devoe. We'd like to welcome her collaborative partner. Thank you for being here with us today, Gwen Sellers from Got Questions Ministries. I see she's also got some, one of her classmates, Ben Novak, on with us today. Also with me is my colleague, Dr. Betsy Jones, who's faculty here with Gardner Webb in the Organization Leadership Program. So without further ado.
First, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Lamb and Dr. Jones for wonderful instructors and for being my committee members. I'd like to welcome Gwen and anybody else who's here, all my guests. Please refrain from any questions, comments, or feedbacks until the end, according to Dr. Lamb's instructions. Okay, so my dissertation practice is cultural and religious awareness for online ministries. Going through this program, I have been self-aware on my own cultural and religious awareness. I grew up in New Jersey, where 20 miles from the crow flies, you have the UN. I have met people from all over the world, all kinds of different religions, and I learned to respect them and be really curious about it. And how do I explain Christ to them so they will understand it? I've had friends, family, colleagues, and work from all over the world. So that was where this is my hedgehog concept, where this is my passion. I found myself to be a transformational servant leader. I love to see people doing their best and whatever I can do to help go forward. Servant, I will clean toilets if you need me to. I will do whatever I need to do to help you get you better. My strengths and weaknesses, my strengths. My number one strength is my belief in Christ, which is foundational. Then I have my positivity, connectiveness, and communication and woo, which is my ability to speak to anybody at any time, anywhere, and they can become a friend. And I may have the ability to get them to at least seek out God in Christ. My weakness is I lack focus and achieving motivation at times. I'm not strategic. I don't plan for the future, and I have an intense fear of failure. This program, with what I've been doing for the last 3 years, I believe I'm going to be overcoming that fear of failure. And at the end of this defense, I'm positive I will overcome it completely. My partnership is with Got Questions. Gwen Sellers is my host. They started, in 2003 or 2002 with Shay and Melissa Foodman and their friends. They have approximately 250 plus volunteer staff writers. Questions have increased to 125 per day plus. Gwen is an associate editor. She manages Compelling Truth, functions as the main contact for volunteers, signs, approves, answers questions for got questions. She approves Bible commentary and does other miscellaneous projects. Their culture, they are on board with their mission and vision. Their main purpose is to answer questions about various spiritual topics by receiving well-researched answers in a specific and timely manner, guiding people on their spiritual walk for God through the internet. And to point the questioner in the right direction for what the Bible states for their question without attempting to coerce them or to having them to agree with God questions or creating a conflict. Consistency, they grow, they adopt, they develop in the mission statement and core values. Involvement, they have monthly statements that we get stats for the number of people that ask questions, the number of people who have professions of faith, words of encouragement, whatever's happening, questions. And they have the means for the writer to sign out whenever they need a time off, which was a godsend the last 3 years. Adaptability, they have various websites, web links, and social media like Seek Find, Got Questions Kids, 412 Teens, blogs, videos, YouTube, Facebook, Bible studies that just came out, podcasts, and the list goes on. They have translators because a lot of this goes internationally. During my interview with Shay for technology, this is what I came up with, a SWOT analysis for Got Questions. They have their roles defined. They're great with technology, even keeping up with the latest. Open communication, you can ask them whatever you need to ask them, and they will come back and say, I don't know, I do know, let's see where we can go with it. The weakness I saw was they had no social media policy, which who knows, they may improve on that. Outside repairs, I worry about that because you can hack because it's on the internet. Opportunities, they're always willing to listen to new ideas, and if it fits, they try it. Threats would be outside threats to their reputation. Not everybody likes Christian ideals, so maybe some people would try to shut them down or whatever. That's the only thing I see there. Okay, significant challenges. These are also based on my research questions. So addressing cultural and religious barriers when answering questions, increasing the effectiveness and efficiency of the writers, reducing requests for reassignment due to lack of knowledge, awareness, or experience, reducing clarification follow-ups, which is also due to the lack of knowledge or awareness or experience, increasing positive feedback from professions of faith because we're able to increase their knowledge, their awareness, and their writing skills. So I also had some concern issues. Risks are not high. Medium to low, I've been with Got Questions for 17 years. So there is bias on my part. But over those 17 years, I have learned that even answering questions to put my bias aside and just answer questions. So I was able to do this project without a bias, to be like a person on the outside. The editors were worried about their roles involved in this project and what usage the writers would have if we gave them the resource and the tools. Before doing the surveys, Dr. Lamb and I talked about the international concerns because there were some people who were writers or people involved who were international, so we stuck with the 8 editors who were in the United States. My assumptions is factually valid, that there are some cultural and religious awareness that people lack and a need for tools and resources. My biases, like I said, I've learned to put it aside as I am doing the project or answering questions. And I prayerfully, as I've sent the dissertation practice to, when I have alleviated any concerns that the editors have had and during our conversations. The only constraint is communication and time zones. They're in Colorado, I'm in Western North Carolina. We can only do it by email. Project development. So can this work within the time frame to obtain resources, be implemented within a budget to provide tools and resources to enhance the awareness, knowledge, and improve writing skills? I believe it is possible, giving a time frame of about 1 to 2 years. I believe that my leadership skills and my research skills would be helpful to improve anything they need to help with, any websites I can look for them, or any help I can do, and I can help with any online issues with this. Acceptance of others and their skills. I tend to be a person that don't, and I'm learning throughout this program and this project to accept others and their skills. There are specific issues to be solved as far as cultural awareness and religious awareness to make the writers more efficient in answering the questions, which is the main issue, and this is a work in progress. Sorry. My project is assessment, return on investment. I looked at that and I thought, well, if we have positive feedback, that might bring more in donations to help Got Questions expand. More people will be coming to the site even just to see what the answers are to a lot of the questions that are out there, anywhere from did Mary have a cat to the incarnation of Christ. As I said, the timeline is 1 to 2 years to completion. Strategic objectives, short term, creating more effective and efficient staff writers by giving them the tools they need. Excuse me. Long term, better working communication between the staff writers and questioners, more positive references and reviews globally. The strategic contributions to have active participation with goals that address the specific issues. The themes basically I came up with was cultural awareness, religious awareness, and online workshops to improve writing skills, to just inform them where everything is, and it can be used with the monthly statements if they want to do it that way. My basic goal of the project is to initiate the change and improvement in these areas. The project scope and purpose. The must-haves is resources for additional website or web links. And it's minimal cost according to my discussion with Shay. Must-have is beneficial for the writers, the questioners, and the visitors so that it's an easy way to find the answers and understand each other when you have difference of opinion and perspectives. To increase knowledge in diverse topics. I have had some interesting topics, especially of late, that takes you looking at different websites and finding different ways to increase your knowledge so you can answer them properly. Must have varying perspectives, and definitely a support system, which Got Questions already has. Excuse me. Must not have one denominational or cultural perspective. You should be able to answer a question lovingly and give varying perspectives, whether you agree with them or not, so they have a well-rounded answer. Deliverables. Online training, which you can do by creating videos, recorded slides, animated slides, which would be great for the kids. Religious website section, we have blogs, videos, and podcasts, same for the cultural website sections. I found 2 websites for the religious, which is learnreligions.com and Patheos Library. The Learn Religions, they have a rudimentary information on each different religion. Patheos, you can make it like a chart, like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and you can compare them. On cultural website, I found studycountry.com and Cultural Crossing.net, which both have rudimentary understanding of what's going on with that country. It even has a religious section if that is a state religion. An example of that, I had a young man from Finland who was asking about baptism in a Lutheran church. So I used those to find out what I needed to answer him. SMART goals, does it have a specific and clear goal? I believe it does. It's basically to improve the writing staff and improve professions of faith and positive feedbacks and reduce the other things. Measurable achievement evidence. If everything goes as planned with the schedule, I believe you will see the evidence as it's going along. Reaching your goals, definitely, because one thing, got questions, you guys work great together, and I believe as a team, the goals will be achieved. Realistic, there is a relevance to the specific vision and mission of Got Questions. This also would be good for any online ministry. Time related, the total achievable period of completion is achievable. Actually, I was thinking it was more 18 months. I just did the flexibility of the 6 months. My project schedule. So I am very methodical. So it's the Likert survey, the open-ended questions, the technology interview with Shay, and then have technology meetings because they're going to be the foundation of the resource and tools, and then creating team or teams as needed, and then create and design the sections, create and design evaluations as needed. Initiating access availability should be right after that for the writers or anybody who's part of Got Questions, and if they need to be for the visitors. And that's my estimation, 1 to 2 years. Communication and engagement clarifies the purpose, goals, roles, and responsibilities, and I believe that this project has. It builds relationship and motivates, which is a definite with Got Questions. They very much motivate you, and as you can see, we have a good relationship. Location, the hardest part for us was telephone, Zoom, and in person. So we ended up doing emails, which have a little lag time, but that's because of time and where we're located. Okay, my professional literature review. The 3 themes, which are culture, religion, and online workshops. I found 15 articles that the online workshops will work well, and that you have writers all over the country. So you can have Zooms, or you can have the videos or the animation so they can understand, they can stop and write down notes. So that would work. 2 books I found that were very specific for me for the religion and the culture. It was a case for the resurrection of Jesus, which all the case fors are excellent. They're more, the gentleman was an atheist who became a Christian by looking historically and scientifically. So they are good for people who are atheists or agnostics that you can refer them to. Peace Child is a book that has my heart. Quick example, Dr. Richardson went to the Sawi people who were cannibals. And he was trying to explain to them about Christ, and they didn't get the salvation part. They got everything else, but not the salvation part. So it was getting really, really, really violent, where they were starting to have war and people were hitting each other. And Dr. Richardson said, me and my family were going when the next supply plane comes in. The chief didn't want that. So the chief called the other chiefs and everybody lined up. He gave his infant son to them. As long as that son lived, there was no war. So Dr. Richardson said, Jesus is the ultimate peace child because he lives forever. So explain that to the chief, and chief got it. Then the chief explained it to his family and his village, and everybody accepted Christ. 50 years later, Dr. Richardson came back. They are still evangelizing all the islands, and people are accepting Christ just because he realized a different and religious ritual. He was able to explain it, and that's where I'm coming from with this. Then I did a project with Dr. Casino on Peace Child, and it had my heart. My theory is guts and gooba theory. When you have online ministries and you have as many people as Got Questions does, you have different personalities, different needs, different expectations and satisfaction for the people who are working for you and for the leadership. And that's a balancing act. And I think Got Questions does it really well. I think it shows that they understand that there's a need for the resources and tools and are willing to look into it and perhaps go forth. The leadership, some people, they just do their job, answer the question, send it out. Some people, like myself, I do it for my satisfaction and because it's my job. Because I learn things and I'm teaching somebody else something. Morale, there's a lot of morale there. They encourage you constantly. There's belongingness, which gives you the rationality to put forth an extra effort to answer the question. And for me personally, there is shared ethics, which I believe that most of the writers have also. My methodology. I did this CD training so that everything would be confidential and no harm would be done to the people I would be sending the surveys to. The four research questions were basically whether it would be beneficial to the writers to have these resources, and would it reduce that and would it increase the other things. It's a mixed methodology, explanatory sequential design, which was shown on the schedule. Data surveys were sent out and collected, and I analyzed the findings, and it became more clear and concise and detailed as how much they need these resources and tools. The quantitative evaluation was the 4-point scale with Likert survey, which is satisfied, not satisfied, ultimately satisfied, ultimately negative, no neutral in between. The participants was all 8 of the Got Questions editors. There was a confidential consent form sent out, average organizational questions which they answered, and I modified some of the research questions later on. The qualitative, I improved the consent form because it was basically a paragraph and it was more clear and concise to what was going on. I had to do 3 open-ended surveys, which were my own fault because the first 2 were basically the same questions, therefore I got the same answers. The third one, I specified writers who did not have knowledge or experience, would it benefit them to have these tools? And I think there were 10 questions. And I got very intriguing questions that they all believe that people would benefit from the resources and the tools. In the Likert survey results, there was 10 questions for the vision and mission. 50 to 80% strongly agreed. Culturally, 87% agreed that there needed to be something for that. 50% agreed for religious. That gave me more insights for the follow-up questions. Like I said, the first ones, it wasn't very specific and I got more like one-word answers. The second one, I didn't modify enough, so the answers were like almost like a copy and paste. The third one, I specified, like I said, the writers who were lacking the knowledge and experience. And the best results from that third one came that the resources and tools are actually needed. So my recommendations are the deliverables that I talked about before, highly recommended and achievable. But in addition, I believe that we need to find experts in both the cultural and world religions field. My suggestion there would be maybe send out a letter to all of the ones who have degrees, see if they have any expertise in these fields that you don't know about. Like, I have cultural anthropology, I've taken world religions twice. I'm not an expert, but I may have more knowledge than a layperson. Experts in future technologies, we got ChatGPT and all of the other things, so you need people who are experts in that. So my conclusion, it's a very good project for any online ministry. It's a positive improvement for knowledge, for skills, for writing skills especially. I'm encouraged to tell people to keep adding as the need arises, because different things happen, especially with technology. Further research is always recommended, and this empowers evangelism on different platforms. That's my references. And thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you very much, Joanne. We'll go to my colleague, Dr. Betsy Jones, and she'll start with our questions this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. So talk to me a little bit about how you put your literature, what you found in your literature review and what you found in your data collection, and how that informed your recommendations for God Ministries.
Okay, well, Geckos. In some of my lit reviews, especially for the online workshops, was that you can have the Zooms and people can they can watch the video and learn, or they can participate like a Zoom, like we have for class, which I think would benefit, because you have people from different time zones, and they can do it in different ways, or just like the video. So that was like a positive thing, that instead of having people in the classroom and paying money to go to Colorado, you can have the Zoom. The animated I wasn't crazy about, but is really good for kids, because you can teach the kids different things about the Bible and stuff like that. Evaluations, I did in one of your classes, where you can do a questionnaire, and when they get to 100%, they get a certificate that they pass, which could be used for evaluating how they're doing with their writing, how they're doing with learning about different cultures or different religions. As far as religion, the case for Christ really hit me, because it's somebody who looks at things scientifically. They don't look at faith-based, so they want to know who Jesus is historically, scientifically, did he really exist? And you can't really base faith on that much, but these books are really good at that. So you can bring it to somebody like my husband, which is really scientific. We will have biblical discussion about this where you try to get me to prove it. So that's where I got that with my literature. With the piece, you want me to go for the piece trial again?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay, so that,
no, that answers my question. Did you find anything that surprised you during either your data? Well, let's talk about your data collection from the
the three open-ended.
any of it. Was anything a surprise to you that you learned through your data collection and analysis?
The first, the Likert and the first two, it seems like the people who are answering were reluctant to say, yes, we need it. Because they were figuring a lot of people have degrees, they can find the resources, there shouldn't be a problem. But not everybody has a degree in God questions. They could be driving down the street, just wants to be serving Christ. So I reworded it so that it would be specific for people who don't have knowledge, who might go to the wrong websites, that might not coincide with the vision and mission of God questions. This way they have more control of what the people see that goes with the vision and mission.
Are the writers volunteers?
Yes.
So
I don't know if there's any paid, that thing you have to ask.
okay. Well, I'm assuming most of them are volunteers. Is there any vetting process to be a writer?
I think, well, Melissa was my vet. So when you go and you
So you have like a
apply.
mentor.
They have to apply and then they go through questions and background checks. So I went through all that.
Okay.
But they also have a list of everybody who has degrees, so they show their expertise. So there's a little one that says garden, but there might be two. So they do have expertise in various fields.
So, anything surprise you?
It's just the fact that they were seemingly reluctant, but other than
But
that,
did you find anything else? I mean,
no, not really. I got passionate with this. I can use my hand shot.
yeah,
So, yeah. I love people. I love telling people. You know, I'll talk to anybody in Walmart. You know, so.
all right, awesome. That's all the questions I have.
Circling back to your theoretical framework, that sounds good with this. Really, in the nutshell is what the organization needs and wants you to do every day has to be what you need to do.
Yes.
And so kind of the kernel of truth from this is these folks won't need to do this, but they may not have the skill to do
Right.
it.
Effectively and efficiently.
And so you have a plan that addresses that.
Yes.
So do they have to say I need help, or my point is there some kind of assessment that says they need help? Or is it gonna be self-selected?
That I think is gonna be something we have to work on, because you can initiate it in the monthly statement, that we have this website and people can go look at it. But you also have a closed Facebook group with the writers. So they can ask, where can I find the Lutheran baptism thing? And any one of us can say, here, go to this website, and there's links on there that you can go to. The initiation would be, I believe, is that question. But they're very good at saying, look, this is what we got new for you, this is what we got.
Yeah, but it's still gonna be voluntary.
I believe so. That's what they were worried about, is are people gonna use this? They do have books and resources at the end of questions. I'm thinking more immediate for the writers. You know, if you have a question and you're like, you know, I gotta go through the book and find it, this way you can, you know,
So you're just thinking that this training would be specific cultural awareness and specific, or just whatever they ask for, whatever the writers ask for that they
Yeah,
say they need.
Yeah, but they say they need, but
I
But
can see
it's-
them having workshops separately
but-
to say this is what we're
But
doing.
there's no plan for this to become institutionalized where you need to go through these training steps. It's just gonna be all based on what they think they need.
For the cultural and religious awareness. As far as the online training, I would say and suggest about questions or any ministry to, when you apply, to have a certain way of evaluating the person, maybe have a Zoom meeting with them or a video on what you are about, that kind of thing. And having that, well, we have an evaluation every year. So maybe have more of a specific evaluation, like I said, with the last class with Dr. Jones.
I think you mentioned something about this earlier, maybe in passing, but when you did Johari's window,
Oh, Lord.
What you should have learned from that is we all lack self-awareness.
Yeah.
That there's a side that we can't see, and we really lack self-awareness. I'm afraid what you're going to find is the people that need the help the most generally ask for it the least. And I would recommend to you and to your organization that if you want to have some impact over what you've done, which has been, a very good project, that you're gonna have to find a way to institutionalize it. People in general, again, aren't aware of the shortcomings sometimes, hence the need for professional development in most organizations, but it can't. I'm not sure the efficacy if you just leave it as an option. If this is just thinking down the road kind of thing.
Well,
And that's part of,
understand that.
but that circles back to the get self-fuel model where I'm headed. If you understand that thing fully, you can't leave it up to chance. The organization, you have to be able to do what they want and need, and if you can't, there's an obligation or requirement on their part to get you up to speed. Otherwise, you won't be very effective, you won't stay, or they won't be happy. That's the backside of get sales good, that function. There's two dimensions to it. The front dimensions is needs and desires and wants and all that stuff. But the backside, the back dimension of that is if you have people who can't do what you need for them to do, is you're obligated to help them to do that, or you have to move on. And that's what I'm saying is that should have been, that should be front and center of what you've done here is that, you know, we're gonna have to institutionalize this in some way for it to be effective. If we just wait for people to choose it, they may or may not.
But then that circle around to their usage is one of their concerns, which I think we would be able to address or something.
You have to kind of formalize this into some sort of staff development program. If it remains voluntary, it will be uneven. And then your results will be uneven. Obviously, to fully understand the get sales Google model that is discussed, it can't be a voluntary thing. Professional development can't be voluntary. How many folks do you know K-12 or community college and volunteer to do PD to get required? I don't know any. I've never met any. Maybe there are some, I just never met them.
Well, if I'm allowed to, Gwen, I'm pleased to announce they have done a, got questions writer's handbook.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
So-
awesome.
that's wonderful. That's what I'm talking about. That's kind of the start. That's your first step. You gotta put together a policy manual, a handbook, and then through that policy manual, you know, the policy manual says, here's the handbook. We need for you to be able to, you know, to do these things, to buy these things. And we're gonna have this training. If you want to stay with us, we want you to. We love for you to be with us. But we've got to be sure that of the, you know, for quality control purposes, the product that we're putting out there, we've got to make sure everybody is up to speed on the same page, whatever, you know, insert overused metaphor here, whatever you want that to be. But that's that back dimension of your theoretical framework is it can't be voluntary. Or you won't get the results that you need as an organization that's voluntary. That you know that your goals, values, missions have to align with those employees. And what you have to do has to be what they want to do. But if they're not capable of doing it, therein lies the rub. The back dimension of that's, you know, it's a two-dimensional figure, if you've ever seen it represented graphically, is that it's your responsibility to get them up to speed. If you don't, you can't expect them to be efficient or effective or good if you didn't work with them to get them there. That you can't expect them to come to you that way. That's an unrealistic expectation for people to do that. That it portends that you must do some training. And so that's kind of poses the loop on the theoretical framework is that we can't make this voluntary. That we're going to have to develop policies, a handbook, and training. And that's where it goes, policy, handbook, training. Right? And so.
Well, it's a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
It is a start,
It is
and I
a
agree
start.
100% with you that from what I've learned from you in class and here today, that cultural and religious awareness is key to your writers being effective.
Yeah.
And to have that.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. Ms. Sellers, Gwen, if you would come back online with us a minute, I'm going to turn it over to you for any questions that you have or any comments you'd like to make.
Yeah, well, great job presenting it, Joanne. I thank you for your investment in this. And I know, yeah, I mean, you've talked about resistance, and that is true. The way, I mean, you know, we do, of course, vet our volunteers. So it's probably changed since you've joined with us, but, you know, like a whole application process. And we really just try to plug people into their strengths and assign questions based on that. But yeah, but in part, Joanne's project was like, you know, we really could resource volunteers more with various things. I mean, of course, we hope that the whole website is a resource, but there are easier, there's like 9,000 articles on there. So there are probably easier ways to package that. That's like she was saying, the employee handbook or the volunteer handbook. And I'm pretty sure that that includes a cultural thing or like those monthly newsletters of, wow, wouldn't that be a great place to do a tip? So I think her project has really encouraged us to consider more seriously, like, what are we expecting of volunteers and how are we resourcing them and equipping them and how could we do it better? So yeah, so I guess thank you for your work and for prompting our thinking and of course for serving with us. We are glad that you're on the team.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much. All right, it's time for our deliberative part. We're going to go off video and mute, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Stop video. All right,
Okay.
come on back in. Welcome back, Dr. Joanne Devoe. Congratulations. Congratulations. I can't bend too far, so I'm good.
Congratulations. Good job.
I've been doing manual labor. I'm not used to that. Well, for those of you on the screen, welcome back, Dr. Joanne Devoe. We're glad to welcome her back. Gwen, if you're still there, we'll give you the opportunity to say something to Joanne, to Dr. Devoe as we close out today.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Joanne. Great job. It's been exciting to be part of this journey with you. So, yeah, congrats. Thanks for inviting me here. Thanks for wanting to do your project for Got Questions. And nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any of the other folks? Again, thank you, Gwen, on behalf of Gardner-Webb University. We appreciate you partnering with Joanne with us for her to complete this dissertation in practice. Classmates, if any of you, Angelique, Ben, or Talia, if you would like to say a word. I see Ben.
Congratulations, Joe.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Great
Shake
working
the
with you.
tambourine, girl. Shake the tambourine, girl.
Okay, gotta get the tambourine.
All right.
Okay, I'll do myself.
Yours,
It's a tradition with our cohort. That's
all right. And then Angelique is still muted. Angelique?
Congratulations, Joe. Dr. Joe, sorry.
going with
great.
the flow. I went with the flow.
Is it Dr. Pasta?
Pasta doctor.
Dr. Jones?
We'll go with that.
Good job with your presentation, and I know that Got Questions and Gwen, appreciate your partnering with them, and I think it was a good project. Congratulations.
Okay, and so the close for me, as you know, to whom much is given, much is required. You'll be the only Gardner-Webb. A lot of people know we always give you the charge to be a servant leader. Pro Deo et Humanitate, service for God and humanity. And so make sure that you understand that you will be an ambassador for us, and that people want to know that you are an authority. They want to know what you know, whether it's in your opinion. So we'll close with our prayer. As we do each time, our prayer today is, let me serve you, from St. Teresa of Avila. Lord, help me respond to the slightest prompting of your grace, so that I may be your trustworthy instrument for your honor. May your will be done in time and in eternity, by me, in me, and through. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we're adjourned. I will go ahead and close out our Zoom so it can be processed, and thank you all for being with us today.
Yes. We always do that.